I'm a Yankee Yankee, and you probably don't know what that means because I just made it up. If you stick around, I'll tell you what the hell I'm doing with this grass, and I'll tell you what a Yankee Yankee is, and I'll even tell you what Yankee Yankee has to do with my socks. So here goes. To understand what Yankee is, you have to first know who the person is that's using the word. It's a tricky word. So, for example, if you're not an American and you're using the word Yankee, it's because you're throwing shade on all Americans. If you're from the American South and you're using the word Yankee, it's because you're throwing shade on all Americans from the northern part of the United States. So, oh, and here's another one. If you were a Southerner during the Civil War period, you'd use Yankee to throw shade on people from New England, like me. I'm from New England. It's not over. There's a whole bunch of other tricky things. If you're from New Amsterdam, which is the name of New York back in the revolutionary period, you were probably throwing shade on people from Connecticut, and you were probably Dutch. If you use Yankee today and you're from New York, you're not throwing shade at all. You're throwing love on a baseball team. It's very tricky. What makes it worse is if you're a Yankee, like I am, and you use the word Yankee, it's because you're talking about a Yankee that's tight with money. That would be me. So I am a Yankee Yankee. That's the first mystery solved. And I'll give you an example of that. This grass that I'm cutting, I commandeered from some overgrown grass that was in my neighborhood. I was doing a little late night landscaping, and I didn't feel too bad about it because I took a little clump of the root ball from a big huge plant. So I figured nobody would miss it. The plant didn't care. And the cost to me was just a minor risk, I guess. Anyway, that's where I got these plants. And I love the big grasses because you can get them for nothing if you do it my way. And they also grow really fast. These things are only about 3 years old. Now, if you go to a nursery and you buy a little twig that they call a tree, it's going to take 20 years to grow up. Well, this stuff, and 20 years, by the way, you don't know if you're going to be around in 20 years, so I feel like that's wasted money. This stuff is free, grows fast, and doesn't look too bad. It's kind of a pain in the spring for me. You're supposed to cut this stuff in the fall when it dies back, but I like to leave it around because the critters love to prowl around here. It's full of chipmunks in the winter. So that's part of how I'm cheap. I don't buy cheap stuff. I'm not tight with money that way. I believe that buying something cheap is like throwing money in the air and hoping for gold to come back down. It doesn't work like that. But I do have some weird habits that you might laugh with me about them, or you might laugh at me. Maybe you do some of them yourself. A big one for me is I procrastinate on big purchases. I hate to spend money before I have to. So I'll wait 3, 4, 5 years before I spend money on something really big. And it usually turns out to be a stupid thing to do because I found out that after 5 years I'm going to be paying a lot more for it because inflation has jacked the price up. And then after I own it for a little while, I realized that if I bought it 5 years ago when I first wanted it, it would have already paid for itself. So overall, it's a way of being cheap that costs you money, if you can understand that. And I've been doing it all my life. Even though I know damn well that this is what I'm going to do, I do it anyway. I figure that's because it's genetic. You can't really fight your genes, can you? They are what they are. So the reason I think it's genetic is my mom and dad both came from pretty modest backgrounds. My mom comes from 200 years of New England farmers. It's tough being a New England farmer because Canada gave us all their rocks. So you don't get rich being a New England farmer. She was actually burned out of her home in Vermont, and that's how she ended up in Massachusetts. So I think I got a lot of money genes from her. My dad's father grew up in Latvia, which is a little tiny country in Europe that their history is being walked on for 200 years by all their big neighbors. And his dad grew up on a farm, so same thing there. I think probably, given the history of that place and the fact that he was on a farm, I figured he probably struggled a lot in life and never got rich either. And people that struggle tend to be frugal with their money. I have another weird thing. I have a weird thing about socks. Whenever I get a hole in a sock, I throw away the one sock. I don't throw both of them away. I throw the other one in the wash. And my wife, she's from Canadian farmers, so she's also got some Yankee genes in her. I think Canada gave us all the rocks, but we gave them all of our snow and a lot of our cold. So they didn't have it too easy either. She, being a good Yankee, at least she's part Yankee, she washes those orphan socks and she puts them in my drawer dutifully. And so my drawer always has a whole bunch of rolled up socks and half a dozen or so orphans. And what happens with the orphans is sometimes I'll get low on the rolled up socks and I'll dig into my orphans and I'll try to match them up. I don't try too hard. I usually get dressed in the dark because I don't want to wake up my wife, and I don't want to waste any electricity either, so I get dressed in the dark. And that usually means when I match up the orphans, I don't do so good. But I don't really care because I got long pants and they cover them up. So nobody knows I'm doing it, except me and my wife. This morning when I got up, it was a bad morning. I went to put on my socks and there weren't any rolled up socks. And I went to my orphan stash and I only had 2 orphans. One was green, one was black. Thank God it was dark green. So I put the 2 socks on and I took it as a good thing because I figured it sent me a really strong signal that it's time to buy socks. And it's such a strong signal that I didn't have to procrastinate about it. I know the next time I'm around socks in a store, I'm buying them. Doesn't matter what they cost. And it sent a signal to my wife too. She knows now that it's time to do the wash. And we're both old enough that signals are really good for us. Signals keep us from making mistakes. And we can make a lot of them if we try. So I wore the socks and I think the signals were good. I was younger, I'd probably wouldn't be doing that. I would have had to go barefoot today, or at least sockless. And it's April here. You don't want to be going without socks in April. Thanks for your time.